Alright, hello y'all, welcome back. It is Sunday evening, hold on. Just pad the mic a bit. There. Okay, so we did get some new news to talk about tonight. First of all, Bitcoin is on its way up still, so it's a green day for everything. Don't know if we should still trust it. Maybe we could. I'm still a bit upset that I got stopped out, or liquidated rather. Could have been avoided. Could have. That was in the past. Can't do anything about the past, can we? So, we're gonna leave it there. It's all good. My altcoin positions are still there. Still in the red, but they're not gone yet. We had a decent recovery, or maybe we're just so oversold to the point where, like, this is necessary, or otherwise it's just unnaturally getting oversold, right? That's fine. We're going to discuss all that in detail. We also have some new updates from Ukraine, from the European Union, what they think about what we talked about yesterday and somewhat the day before, the 28-point plan for a ceasefire proposal between Russia and Ukraine. Europe did some modifications. They had a meeting, some US officials and Ukrainians officials, and some of the European Union as well, to see what they could modify or whether or not they would agree with it, right? Because all we were waiting for at this point was the response of Ukraine. Russia was, they've gone through it and they're pretty open to accept that ceasefire point plan, whatever it was. But it seems like there's some tweaks that Europe wants to make. So we're going to go through all that, the new updates there. What else are we going to do today? Talk about Department of Government Efficiency. That's gone. Crazy. But yeah, I don't know. They failed, I guess. Sorry, Elon. But yeah. And some other crypto news, little updates on MicroStrategy. We'll be getting into all of that tonight. So it should be a good one. Bitcoin's current price is 87,756. We had a high today of 88,000 flat, meaning that, yes, 88,000 will be our resistance for now. We have a pivot level practically right there, and the high 87,000, basically where we are right now. Kind of, you see the price hovering above and below that level. Just round it up to 88,000. Don't give yourself too big of a headache. But we're not fully out of the woods yet. The downtrend is still in play, and it will invalidate as soon as we break 92,270, which should automatically, easily, I'm assuming there should be shorts liquidated here, taking us up to 94,000, maybe 95,000, right? I'd say 95,000. Ignore this. We're not looking for drops anymore. If we are looking for resistances, if where I got liquidated was indeed the bottom, then that means we can draw some Fibonacci like this to kind of determine where our resistance levels will be. I don't like what I'm seeing, to be honest with you. So 98,000, 95,000, and then 92. 92, 95, 98. Weird. But yeah, those are the levels if you truly care. For resistance, are we going to go up there and break them? Are we going to start seeing green days from now on? I don't know. In my opinion, we are in a bear market now. We did not have our euphoria phase. This cycle is completely different. Things have changed. Weekly chart is bearish. You can't be bullish on that. So I don't know. What am I going to do? I'm going to stay out of it until I see a decent recovery. Then I'm going to FOMO all in and get myself liquidated again. That is the plan, ladies and gentlemen. No, but for real, I'm only accumulating spot right now. You guys don't see my spot account. Don't have it here. This is the futures account. This here, though, I will use it for trading. And I will obviously be looking for entries, any good opportunities, and I'll be going over them live, of course, with you guys. So the trades that you're going to see here will probably be a bit more shorter term. Well, shorter than what I'm currently doing, because these positions can stay open for weeks or months, the ones that I currently have down here. I usually expect you know, a couple of days for these to perform decently. But when things flip over to the other side, go against me, I don't use stop loss, and that's why I got liquidated on Bitcoin. Huge position, so don't do what I did. Use a stop loss. There. Learn from me. So, still though, if this is no longer a bear, I don't even know what to call this anymore. Like I said, it's very conflicting. Everybody has their own opinions. There's equally good opinions from the bears, from the bulls, as to what kind of market this is truly. I'm not trying to, like, I don't know, how do I explain it? Be resentful because I lost. Like, I don't, like, regardless of whether or not I lost, I called it as soon as we broke below the 97,000, as soon as we even waited the rest of that week, that weekly candle to close, it did close in the red. And I was like, you know what? In the weekly super trend, I'm just going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Because we're on the chart. Why am I explaining it with my brain, with my words? The fact that this candle over here happened last week, or 2 weeks ago maybe now, I was like, yeah, it's bearish. We can no longer continue making newer highs from here. And super trend flip bearish. We also closed below, you know, other indicators, weekly moving averages, things like that, indicating that, yes, we are indeed now in a bear market. So, last week also closed red. We ended up closing at 86,790. It still looks like a nasty red candle. But today, slight green. Very slight green. So the green that you're seeing right here, don't even think like we're so back. I think it's going to take a while. It will take a while. You might even see, you know, a rise to here again. 95. I don't know. Give me a random number. 90-something thousand. And then, you know, just continue bouncing lower. That could definitely be the case because we are in a bear market now. On the weekly chart, everything is bearish. We should be making lower highs, lower lows until, you know, eventually we reach a decent floor. We stay there accumulating for a while, and then we have a reversal. It's going to take a while. I don't think we're going to immediately shoot back up to 100,000. And even if we do, I don't have any confirmation yet on the super trend, but 117,000, that is the level that is required to, you know, be broken for us to be actually back. And then we can start talking about making new all-time highs once again. Just maybe. We'll see. All right. We're almost at 88,000 once again. Bitcoin is up 2.61%, 87,940, 930. So might see that during the stream right now. Rest of altcoins, like I said, they're on their way up as well. Pretty decent. Ethereum 2,860, up 1.85%. Continuing its rise from yesterday. Bitmine fuels institutional momentum. I saw a post where they were saying Bitmine wants to accumulate 5% of Ethereum's total supply, which is great and all, but what is the total supply of Ethereum? What is 5% of infinity? Am I right? No, but I know they got their tokenomics down. They're getting the, I forget what it was called, but the upgrade, which we also discussed, the Ethereum upgrade. Brother. Pectra, no, it's not Pectra. Fusaka, that's the one. That's going to be coming soon. So, should make it a little better. Nothing too groundbreaking or exclusive or crazy good, but it should improve like the transactions per second, scalability, you know, speed, that kind of stuff. So, should be fine. Also lowering the fees, of course. You improve the speed, you have more transactions per second, you lower the fees. Easy, simple as that. It's not going to be substantial though, like I said. Like Solana will still be better than Ethereum, despite this upgrade. No, by far, right? So, don't worry too much about it. Hyperliquid, after dropping 11% yesterday, we're now up 8.2%, $33.43. Weird volatility that we saw yesterday. It seemed like it was no absolute reason why we dropped. Growing market momentum. Yesterday you told me something about the NFL. The day before it was football. I don't even know. I think they're literally like, this AI scours the internet, looks for anything that has the word hype, and anything that could be, you know, good sentiment for it. And because the word hype is an actual word, like I'm hyped for something, I'm hyped for a soccer event or sports, I don't know, sports hype, and it uses that to translate into this token. I almost said meme coin. It's not a meme coin, but no, Hyperliquid is its own separate thing. But you know, the ticker makes it get screwed up with this AI, specifically this AI. I mean, we even had LeBron James at one point. LeBron James hype. And it's like, oh, LeBron James tweeted something about hype. And it was like, no, there was no tweet about Hyperliquid from LeBron James. That was just, we're talking about actual hype, like the emotion of being hyped. That had to do with LeBron James. That was maybe mentioned on Twitter by a guy with 2 followers. But nothing, no correlation here. So whatever the AI tells you, it's wrong. And only I'm right. That being said, we have some resistance here at 34.28 for Hyperliquid. Should take us to the middle point, and as soon as you reach around 37 plus, 37.18 is where the downtrend invalidates. We should see ourselves a bit overbought at that area, or maybe even to where the $39 area. I would feel we would be overbought, because I think this could easily be approached, right? I don't think we're going to immediately go for it. It's going to take some time, and that's where I could see, because like by the time this breaks, you know, it could take some time. We could see it around this time. November 28 at 3 a.m. That is when Hyperliquid will break past $37, right? No, I'm kidding. I don't know for sure if that's actually going to happen. Like I said, if it does continue rising, that's where it will rise to, before we could see a flip. Backward, downward. If we are still in a downtrend, right, we could see something like this happen. Whether it happens right now, whether it happens down the line, November 28th, like I said, at 3 a.m., we'll have to wait and see what truly happens for Hyperliquid. But I like what I'm seeing with it so far. Decent area of accumulation right over here because of the fact that we were oversold. And what even happened with, what was it, the weekly chart we were paying attention to? I'm pretty sure we closed below, didn't we? We're at a crucial area. No, we stayed above. That is crazy. This is really good for Hyperliquid. I don't have any money, otherwise I'd dump it all in here right now. No, not actually. But the fact that it survived the weekly chart and is still on an uptrend, it's pretty impressive. So, congrats for Hyperliquid. Still not flipped our trend to the bearish side, but still beware of $31. If we close a week below that, yeah, bear market for Hyperliquid. Seems like Hyperliquid doesn't really care too much about whatever else is going on around. The only thing that Hyperliquid really needs is demand, right? The Hyperliquid token itself, it's rising because of the amount of people that use Hyperliquid, the actual decentralized exchange, the volume that is in there, and all those fees that are generated or that they receive as revenue, they use for buybacks, right? On their own token. It has a max supply, so we don't really got to worry too much about the inflationary aspect. I'm sure they have their token unlocks, but I don't think it's too impactful, right? And then from there, like I was saying, it's not too dependent on, oh, Bitcoin's rising, Bitcoin is dropping. It would be more like, what other competitors does Hyperliquid have? In this case, Aster. Aster has also been doing pretty decent. Although everything is down, don't get me wrong, but it's not continuing to go down like the rest. Aster is somehow surviving, and so is Hyperliquid. In the weekly chart, it doesn't look the same. I'm sure. Yeah, because we don't have enough historical data. But if we go to like the 4-hour chart, it's maintaining its uptrend still pretty good. 112 is the current price. As long as we stay above 106, we'll be good. Which we did drop to this area, 106. This actually happened this morning, 7 a.m. Interesting, but yeah, we'll see. Only the strong survive on this one, so best of luck to both, but I'm still Team Hyperliquid here. I like the 7% rise, but yesterday's drop, 11%, whatever it was, odd. No particular reason. So deserved bounce, good for that. BitTensor looks good, but keep in mind two things. We are still on a downtrend. We're at a resistance of the psychological level, $300. The current price of BitTensor, Tau, $299.97. We're about to break 300. Nope, we're going below. Nope, we're rising. 98. I'm going to stop staring at that, but you get the point. We did poke above 300 either way. 305 was our highest today, and we're up 8.69%, which is really good. So that being said, we're still on a downtrend, which would invalidate at 322 plus. We have our first resistance at 336, and then 375. Of course, 400 would be the next psychological level. But by then, I should be in the green with BitTensor. It's probably my best positioned entry, right? Because, yeah, I bought this dip over here at 319. The second purchase I did was at 402 after seeing it rise so much to like 539. So I'm fine. I'm content with where I entered. I would have loved to have entered more over here, November 21st, whatever happened on that day. We were oversold, but no money. So, gotta find a job still. Still on this job hunt. Nobody's getting back to me. Not even fast food restaurants. Well, to be honest, I haven't really applied to McDonald's yet. I didn't want to do the meme, but I might have to. So, whatever. Yes, I studied. Yes, I graduated university, but for what? They don't even want to hire me either way. If there is any good opportunities, I'd have to travel really far. Don't know if I really want to do that. Especially if I'm not even getting paid that much to begin with, right? With this economy, I don't know, man. Affordability is indeed the issue, but not my issue. Moving on to Chainlink, we're at $12.75. Basically at a resistance right here, right now. Your next one would take us to a very important level at about $14. I'm going to round it up to there. $13.75 to $14. That area, that zone, would be crucial. It would determine whether or not we invalidate the downtrend, flip the trend over, and start making newer highs. But like I said, it's an important area because we might even just approach it and then bounce back below and continue our downtrend to lower. And if we do, I would not like to see that, meaning that it could signify a lower low soon. And that could maybe take me to my liquidation price, which is at $11.21. Our support, it's still a little higher over here, which I'm fine with. My liquidation price is below a support level, but in this volatile market, all you need is a wick like that and you're gone. Which is basically what happened to me on Bitcoin. So I'm still far from being positive over here on my position. 1659 is where my average entry is. That is not looking good at all. But hey, I'm glad to be in Chainlink nonetheless. It looked okay back over here. But no, I think I've just been DCAing from such higher levels. I remember it being at around 22. These prices over here, I'm thinking, yeah, I wish I bought like 13. And now here we are at 1276 and I don't have money. So whatever. Sui, pathetic. Not doing any moves today. 138 is the current price. Barely up 0.40%. We got to rise higher. 147, I'd say 150. We'll round it to 150 is a resistance for it. Support is at 120. I liquidate at 111. After that, what is this? 160 we could say is another resistance, which would be the more important one. And this zone, same deal as what I was explaining with Chainlink. We either bounce down below it or we flip the trend back in the green and we can expect making higher lows, higher highs from there on forward. I hope that is the case, of course, but we've got a long way to go. But Sui's a volatile coin. 229 is my average entry. 230 we could round it to. Still gotta expect a good move from it, so I don't know if we're really going to get it. Aptos was looking fine before, which we discussed. Flipped its trend downward, which that's not what I like to see, but it is what it is. We made new lows to 227. Current price is 237 right now. Same deal with SUI. Not too much of a movement today. Up 1% regardless. 237 is the current price. We got to break 263 to flip the trend back into the green. When we do that, I think I would have a bit more confidence in the market, or maybe that is the dead cat bounce that we are all truly expecting. And if that is the case, I wouldn't even know, to be honest. Would have to like check weekly charts. I don't have enough data here, or do I? No, I kind of do. Let me go to USDT. Hold on, for Aptos specifically. I'm not even in Aptos, so I don't know why I'm looking into it this hard. But yeah, we got to break above $5 to flip our trend into the green. And even if we do, we'd be in the middle of a euphoric phase, probably. If we're looking at historical data here, seems like the only time the weekly trend has flipped to the green has been during periods of like euphoria. Trump wins end of year 2024. We rose to $15 on Aptos. February 2024, when ETFs for Bitcoin were approved, Aptos rose to $19.35 with a lower market cap, by the way. This was a higher market cap, and the price didn't even rise that much higher, meaning that, yes, Aptos is an inflationary coin. That being said, if we do get the same amount of volume in here, I did the math already. Highest we'll ever see for Aptos ever is $10. So that's still pretty good. $2 to $10 if we ever do get a decent rise like that. If we are indeed not so over. We did not have an alt season. Did we have an alt? I don't think we did. You guys call this an alt season? I mean, it was good, but that was just because Trump won the elections. I don't know if that I'd really constitute that as an alt season. It's a season, after all. It should take a couple of months. And it should be, I think, if there was to be an alt season, if we are going to get one, now is the time for this to happen, right? Bitcoin already made its rise. Sure, is 126K the top? Fine, whatever. You can have your top for Bitcoin at 126,000. Right now, there's a lot of FUD going on with MicroStrategy. Sure, maybe that is the top. Whatever, you got us. Congratulations. But the altcoins, we're getting lots of ETFs coming out still. That was one good reason to be bullish with it. We're hoping that the demand is still there to keep up the prices, right? Otherwise, if it's a dead coin, nobody wants it, there's no demand for it, the prices are going to drop naturally. The supply keeps on increasing. Lots of altcoins are indeed inflationary, and it's not going to look good in the price charts. So we got to expect that demand is still there. And retail plays a huge part in it as well. The FOMO, when that kicks in. Right now, maybe, just maybe, smart money is accumulating and preparing for potential alt season. And when that does happen, now would be the case because Bitcoin already made its rise, sure. And now altcoin dominance, we're seeing that compared to Bitcoin dominance, people are not holding Bitcoin anymore. They are, but not as much compared to altcoins. They're not selling off their altcoins to hold Bitcoin anymore. That fear is kind of gone in the markets, which is a good sign for alt season. It's obviously not a good sign in general. Like, forget all altcoins. Honestly, we should all be holding Bitcoin at the very minimum, right? And yeah, you can hold some altcoins, anything that you truly believe in, you trust in the project, the founders, you have dinner with them and all that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that kind of stuff, sure, you're fine. You can hold on to some altcoins that you do know, you've researched, you've studied, and you think, yep, this has got potential, it's got future, it can give me a decent return on my investment. Don't speculate too hard, though. Did I speculate too hard on Sonic? Yeah, probably. Oh, but I genuinely do like Sonic, though. Where are we? 10 cents. Okay. Again, okay. AI wrong. SpaceX has nothing to do with Phantom, with Sonic. I don't understand. We got new listings. Oh, we got delistings. Dreams USDT and ES USDT. Don't know what those are. Don't care. Yeah, once again, this AI is wrong. I think they're looking at the words like, I don't know, hypersonic, rockets, or I don't know, something sonic. And I have no idea why SpaceX has anything to do with this specific token. It has nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. I was really bullish on Sonic when they... What was this? Why did this happen? Oh, I remember this. I took profit here. I did. Too early, I think. I sold around 14, and then it rose to like 19. I think that's what happened. I don't know. It could pay you good sometimes. And these are criminally underrated prices. 10 cents. I was expecting this to hit 40, 50 cents if things went normally. But no, October 10 had to happen, crashing us from about 30 cents on average down to 7 cents. I still don't believe that. But yeah, ultimately we ended up decaying lower, and here we are, 10 cents. What will I do? I will not buy it. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to stick to fewer coins, but for trading, yeah, like these ones are really good. They're very volatile. They'll give you some decent gains if you have proper risk management, you have your stop loss in place, and you have a set take profit to exit when the market moves in your favor eventually. And when it does, it's going to have a movement like this. I don't think it's going to be a slow and gradual movement. Once all the FOMO starts kicking in, all that money just appears in the market magically. It's not a slow process of, you know, prices creeping upwards. No, it doesn't really work like that. We did not hit 88,000 or cross it on Bitcoin. 87,423. Great. Okay. That is all I have for technical analysis. Everything is still looking bleak, but I like the bounce that we're seeing so far today, if that you could even call this a bounce. So what do you have to talk about? The big Ukraine. Marco Rubio is over there. He said he had the most productive meeting with the Ukrainians yet. Now they're going to make some adjustments to the 28-point plan. I don't like the sound of that. The plan was already generous, and what more can Kyiv ask for? Well, we shall see. Here is the new updates to the 28-piece plan. It has now become a 24-point European counterproposal. Here it is in full. I think this post takes out everything that was pretty much unchanged, like points 1, 2, and 3, for example. It starts off with point 4. So I'm just going to read what the post says, because yesterday I read the full 28 points in detail. If you want to go over that, you can review it. Otherwise, here's a screenshot of the whole thing. Pause. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds. Moving on. So point number 4 was changed. The US-led international ceasefire monitoring by partners of Ukraine is introduced. Monitoring will be predominantly remote, using satellites, drones, and other technological tools, with a flexible on-land component to investigate alleged violations. So that's the new point that they added. Number 6 has been changed. Russia will unconditionally return all deported and illegally displaced Ukrainian children. The process will be supported by international partners. Seems decent. Point number 9 was modified. Ukraine's sovereignty is respected and reconfirmed. Ukraine is not forced to be neutral. So whose side are they going to be on? That brings some concern. Number 10. Ukraine receives robust, legally binding security guarantees, including from the US, Article 5-like agreement, to prevent future aggression. So security guarantees from Europe and the US is what it seems like. Number 11, no restriction imposed on the Ukraine Defense Forces and defense industry, including international cooperation. Number 12, the guarantor states will be an ad hoc grouping of European countries and willing non-European countries. Ukraine is free to decide on the presence, weapons, and operations of friendly forces invited by the government of Ukraine on its territory. Number 13, Ukraine's membership in NATO depends on consensus within the alliance. If you contrast that to what we talked about yesterday, it was that Ukraine will under no circumstance join NATO. Here, they're giving the possibility of Ukraine joining NATO depending on the consensus within the alliance. So if NATO themselves would want to accept Ukraine into it, which I'm sure Russia is not going to like already. Just going to say that. Number 16, territorial issues will be discussed and resolved after a full and unconditional ceasefire. Compared to what we talked about yesterday, I think some of the areas, we already drew the borders, the new borders. Whatever Russia captured, they keep, but Ukraine will maintain its sovereignty for the rest of it. Something like that, right? Number 17, territorial negotiations start from the current line of control. Okay. Number 19, Ukraine regains control of the, here we go again, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant with US involvement, and also the Kakhovka Dam. Kakhovka Dam? Yeah, I said that right. A mechanism of transfer of control will be established. Okay. Number 20, Ukraine enjoys unhindered passages on the Dnipro River and control of the Kinburn Split. Number 22, Ukraine will be fully reconstructed and compensated financially, including through Russian sovereign assets that will remain frozen until Russia compensates damage to Ukraine. So Russia is going to be the one that has to pay for Ukraine's damage, which I'm sure they're also not going to like. From what I remember, I think the previous one was that $100 billion was going to be invested into Ukraine. I don't remember from who, to help rebuild, right? Something like that. Number 23, sanctions imposed on Russia since 2014 may be subject to gradual and partial easing after a sustainable peace is achieved and subject to resumption in the event of a breach of the peace agreement, a snapback. And the last point, it's only 24 points instead of 28, so point 24, separate talks will begin on European security architecture, including all OSCE states. I don't know what this is. Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. There's 57 participating states, encompassing 3 continents, North America, Europe, and Asia. So basically the rest of the world. Okay. I don't know what Russia is going to think of this, but here we go. If you didn't pay attention to anything, in summary, Europe has responded with their 24-point peace counterproposal. Their plan obligates the USA to defend Ukraine with the same type of Article 5 NATO protections that they have. Oh, that basically means that it's basically NATO without formally being known as NATO. Okay. Why would we sign up for more obligations? Europe can't pay for their own defense. We're not going to reimburse us for defending. They're not going to reimburse us for defending Ukraine. Well. Ignore the photo. There's an update here. Europe rejects the peace in Ukraine. They declare the counterproposal to Trump's 28-point Russia-Ukraine peace plan. The main points is that Europe rejects point 6, no restrictions on the size of the Ukrainian military. They reject point 7. Ukraine is free to join NATO, therefore they are not forced to be neutral. That's not something that Russia's going to like. Europe rejects point 8. Ukraine is free to invite friendly forces. Europe rejects point 21. An immediate ceasefire, no land exchanges will take place with the freezing of the front lines as they currently are. Why? Just accept the deal how it is. It was fine at the beginning. Trump also rips Ukraine for the zero gratitude as peace talks hit turbulence. That's another thing is that Trump pointed out. He's doing the JD Vance meme. The have you said thank you once? Ukraine didn't even say thank you for proposing the ceasefire. For the US proposing the ceasefire, right? I'm just going to read through headlines because there's a lot. Zelensky could fly to the US, and that tells you everything about how intense these peace talks just got. Trump also slams Ukraine and Europe as US policy grows murkier. Europe's counterproposal equals Ukraine loses and everyone pretends otherwise. Yeah, it's basically what it is. The Geneva huddle in Geneva, Switzerland is where they hung out. European Union and Ukraine scramble over Trump's peace plan, and they came up with the other one. Trump told Zelensky, take the peace deal. You have 48 hours. I think we already know the response. It's basically, no, we want these modifications. And if you're able to concede to those, then sure. But now Russia won't, and this has been what the whole issue has been for the past couple of months. Whenever it comes to talks of a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, it's like, okay, we can do this, but then one of the two sides disagree, and they propose something so absurd, and nothing ever gets done. I don't know if this time it's going to be too absurd. Like I said, we still have to wait and see what Russia decides from all this. Right now they're all asleep, so we'll let them rest, but maybe tomorrow we'll have something. The State Department says Russia didn't write the peace plan, America did, so Russia had no point. Sec Rubio allegedly admits Trump 28-point Ukraine plan is a Russian document. Okay, no, but they confirmed it's basically made in the US. It's false. Don't believe that. Okay, moving on from all of this. He also posted this on Truth Social, stating, the war between Russia and Ukraine is a violent and terrible one that with strong and proper US and Ukrainian leadership would have never happened. So he's also blaming the Ukrainian leadership as well as Joe Biden. Zelensky and Biden are the ones at fault for this war, not Russia invading, by the way. It began long before I took office for a second term, during the sleepy Joe Biden administration, and it has only gotten worse. By the way, part of the 28-point peace plan is the fact that Zelensky would have to call an election within 100 days. Meaning that he would likely not get reelected and lose power. The reason he is still in power is because the war is keeping him in power. They can't hold elections while they're in the middle of a war. So that means no more billions for him, and what is he going to do? Poor Zelensky. That's kind of the way I perceive this, right? Anyways, if the 2020 presidential election was not rigged and stolen, the only thing the radical left Democrats are good at doing, there would be no Ukraine-Russia war, as there wasn't, not even a mention, during my first term in office that Putin would never have attacked. It was only when he saw Sleepy Joe in action that he said, now is my chance. The rest is history, and so it continues. Here comes the caps lock. I inherited a war that should have never happened. Something that also Putin admitted. A war that is a loser for everyone, I agree, especially the millions of people that have so needlessly died. Ukrainian quote-unquote leadership has expressed zero gratitude for our efforts, which is also true. I mean, last time Zelensky was in the White House, the second time, he did start saying thank you, but that was after he got slammed by J.D. Vance the first time for not saying thank you. Okay, moving on. But like for this one, this specific one, there's been no thank you from Ukraine yet. Europe continues to buy oil from Russia. Oh my gosh, traitors. Get them out of here. The USA continues to sell massive dollar amounts of weapons to NATO for distribution to Ukraine. Crooked Joe gave everything free, including big money. The $200 billion, and yeah, okay, I'll admit that, sure. And also Russia obviously does not like that NATO is the one that's supplying Ukraine, but NATO feels the need to defend Ukraine. God bless all the lives that have been lost in this human catastrophe, President DJT. Okay. Let's see. Literally, this is the meme, by the way. The JD Vance saying, did you say thank you yet? Have you said thank you once? That kind of deal. So there's your little Russia-Ukraine update. What else has been happening at the White House? The past week, we saw FIFA task force. We saw the jobs surpassing expectations, the ones in September, by double. We saw the McDonald's summit, which I briefly covered. We saw Cristiano Ronaldo in the White House, which I also briefly covered. You guys see the AI video? It's pretty funny, where Trump and Cristiano Ronaldo are kicking the ball, doing keep-ups in the Oval Office. It was AI. Saudi Arabia invests $1 trillion, which we also saw. The Crown Prince came to visit. Israeli freed hostages. Don't know much about that. Department of Education was closing. I don't remember if I covered that, but that was definitely news that I saw. And for 6 months straight, we have had 0 illegal crossings. What about the deportations, man? We gotta get those up, but yeah. Speaking of celebrities, I don't know why Chucky is here, but Nicki Minaj posted this image of a pink White House, the pink house, I guess. She says that United Nations was a MAGA flex. She's doing rhymes here. Trump is on the text. Y'all should be afraid of what I'm gonna do next. In her accent, Nicki Minaj. She might visit Trump at the White House, is what seems to be happening here. This comes after Trump talked about the whole issue in Nigeria. Why does Nicki Minaj care? Minaj from Trinidad, Tobago, moved to New York. Okay. Well, I thought she was from Africa. Jamaican or Trinidad? No, she's from Trinidad. Okay. Whatever. The fact is, there was a lot of massacring by Muslims to Christians in Nigeria. Trump notices the issue, calls out Nigerian president and says, you guys better do something and stop the killing of Christian people over there. Otherwise, we're gonna do war because we're the president of no new wars. I don't know, counterintuitive, but it's for a good cause, right? We don't want Christian people dying. So, brand new album. March 27, 2026. That is so far away. I don't listen to Nicki Minaj, by the way. But Nicki Minaj was one of the few who was like retweeting this stuff from Donald Trump and saying, thank you, Trump, for pointing out the issue. We love to have a president like you who is aware of these issues, and we thank you for your efforts, that kind of stuff. She was basically glazing Trump. And now she's gotten enough attention. Seems like she's going to go have a tour of the White House. So good for her. Congratulations. If I had that kind of... what does Nicki Minaj have that I don't have? Yeah, I'd definitely go to the White House too. Scott Bessent had some comments today talking about the U.S. economy, talking about that it took an $11 billion hit from the government shutdown, yet we are still not at risk of a recession. So don't worry, guys. There's no such thing as recession, and that will definitely not be the cause of a bear market in 2026. Maybe it will. Trump also says that we are taking in trillions of dollars in tariffs and investment dollars from foreign lands because of tariffs. Here comes like a rant about the Supreme Court. I have stopped 5 of the 8 wars directly because of the threat of tariffs if they don't stop fighting, or better yet, if they start. There is almost no inflation, and the worst in USA history under Sleepy Joe Biden. What? The worst amount of inflation in the United States history was under Sleepy Joe Biden. I'm assuming that's what he means. The stock market just hit an all-time high for the 48th time in 9 months. What stock market? The Japanese one? The Chinese one? The Indian one? I don't think the S&P is at a all-time high. Gosh, I cannot talk today. No, we're not at all-time highs. We were 1 month ago. So I don't know what Trump is talking about here. But anyway, to Leonard, Leo, Koch, and all of the countries and slime balls that have ripped off the United States of America for years through the use of their own tariffs, we don't have a court system that is going to let you destroy our country any longer. This is the richest, strongest, and most respected the USA has ever been. November 5th and tariffs are the reasons why. Thank you for your attention. What happened November 5th? I remember we crashed November 4th. This crash. What happened November 5th? Whatever. Did anybody talk about November 5th? It's billions and it's not trillions so far, and it's coming from Americans, not foreigners. The money? Okay, I don't know about that. I think it is coming from the foreigners. Tariffs, markets, strength. Pakistan is not a partner. What are you talking about, brother? Okay, I'm getting brain rot. What? Is this real? This Twitter account that reposts Trump's Truth Social posts is from Australasia. There's no way this is real, dude. I cannot... Why do I believe everything on the internet? It's real? Is this actually a real country? Australasia? Shut up. Search. Oh, I guess that's the continent. Subregion of Oceania, comprising Australia, New Zealand. Basically the continent of Australia. Oceania. Australasia. I never heard it called that before. That's crazy. And I'm pretty good on geography, so Impressive. Why was I talking about Supreme Court? Because of this as well. The White House is preparing fallback tariff tools ahead of a Supreme Court ruling that could curtail the president's emergency tariff powers. What does the fallback tariff tools mean? It refers to alternative legal mechanisms the White House is preparing to impose tariffs if the Supreme Court limits the president's emergency powers under laws like the IEEPA. The options include sections, I'm not reading all those numbers, 301, 122, 232, 338 of trade acts, allowing duties via investigations or temporary measures, though they may face delays or challenges. This is in prep for a potential ruling impacting current tariffs. Imagine liking a bot reply. Anyway. Donald Trump just bought millions in US bonds. He's betting on more rate cuts. So am I, by the way. And it's basically been indirectly confirmed to the fact that the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, remember the thing that Elon Musk created to try to reduce the US deficit? Well, that does no longer exist anymore. Big Balls is gone, Elon Musk is gone, and whoever the rest of these teenagers that were involved in the DOGE, they're gone. The agency was originally scheduled to last until July 4 of 2026. It's gone a bit too early, don't you think? They have been disbanded. DOGE was established in January by President Trump to reduce the size of federal agencies, cut their budgets, or redirect their work to different priorities. The agency still had 8 months left on its mandate. When asked about DOGE, the Office of Personnel Management Director Scott Kupor said that it doesn't exist anymore, basically. That's where we get this source of information. Cool. Not cool. I want DOGE back. I like getting those darn people that are doing nothing fired. Okay. Here we go. Mexico passes Canada, is now the United States' #1 customer. We were supposed to be the United States' #1 customer. Seems like we're just cutting ties with the United States entirely. I don't have the post up with me, but Mark Carney recently did just say, who cares about the United States? We don't need the United States. We're going to focus on other countries or whatever kind of stuff. I don't know exactly what it is he said, but I saw a post like that. Multiple posts stating that. Well, congratulations. We don't have the United States as a #1 trading partner anymore. It's now been moved on to Mexico, and Mexico has been handling it a little better. They have their issues with, cartels and stuff, but they've been handling it a little better. Disappointment. And another disappointment here in Canada. Nearly 500,000 Canadians exited emergency rooms from hospitals without seeing a doctor. 5 to 15% of patients left before receiving care. It just goes to show how either understaffed or overpopulated. I don't want to say overpopulated because, we've got plenty of land mass to house all the people here and even more. We could fit how many Indias in here? Not that I want Indian people. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to say it. We don't want that many people here, especially from India. We do have quite a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure your next door Indian neighbor would agree. Or maybe they'll think it's a good thing or whatever, that you're entitled to your own opinion. That's fine. But we don't have enough houses for all these people, which means we need to build more, right? And jobs. They're taking up a lot of jobs. Look at me, I can't even get a job anywhere, not even at my local McDonald's. I haven't tried there yet, but you get the point. I've applied everywhere, okay? Or maybe it's a skill issue. I'm betting it's a skill issue. At least that's what I'm telling myself to cope with it, but I'm trying. And it also comes this way when it comes to our free healthcare system. We do have free healthcare here, and it's, if there's too many people here, might become an issue down the road. All these people here so far exiting emergency rooms because not enough doctors to attend. A lot of people who simply have a cold and go to the emergency room for something like that. Because at an emergency room, you're not going to get turned away, right? And I'm pretty sure you don't get charged. I don't know. But it's much cheaper to go, from what I know, much cheaper to go to an emergency room than, you know, having your family doctor or whatever. If you're not covered by the, here we have like a insurance plan. It's covered by the Ontario government. But I don't know. I don't know how this specifically works. I tried looking into it a bit more for Canadian politics. It's quite a lot, to be honest, but I don't know. The idea of me maybe running for political office, I think it's probably not going to happen, but I don't want to give up on it yet. I was looking up on AI how to get started. They want me to become a school board trustee, and I don't want to have anything to do with schools anymore, so find me a different route and maybe I'll consider it. New Zealand will be teaching crypto in schools. Wow, what a segue. I honestly didn't intend to do that, but yeah. Okay, cool. This is great. New Zealand teaching crypto in schools. Digital currency will be added to the financial curriculum for years 1 to 10, starting in 2026, and there will be a full mandatory rollout in 2027. This is good, and this is what should be implemented into our normal schools over here. Because, yeah, I didn't learn anything about money in school. Did you? I mean, I learned what dollars were, but that was pretty much it. We only took one class in grade 10. What was it called? Civics and Careers? I think that's the course. You learn a little bit about finance and businesses and that kind of stuff. And also the other stuff was to do with politics, right? And now, like, this is basically all I'm doing now. Basically anything that covers, I gotta stop saying basically so often. But, you know, politics and money, finances. I had to learn that stuff on my own afterwards. When I was studying to become a financial advisor, you had to learn all that stuff. And it was exploding my brain at that time. Even my first job, my first real job, I would say, as a collector, I didn't know anything about credit cards or loans or interest. What is a statement? You know, this kind of stuff. I had no idea how any of that worked. And you learn, right? As it obviously is your job. I've been there for 4 years, and yeah, I learned a lot from it. Got more interested in the finance subject, and here I am losing my whole portfolio live for you guys. So that's just awesome. We need more financial education, though. That's for real. Everybody needs it. Because if you just put your money in a bank, this is what's going to happen eventually. The bank client data may or may not have been compromised for JP Morgan Bank, Citibank, and Morgan Stanley. Just recently, this was reported. Client information may have been exposed after a vendor hack, per New York Times. Banks could get hacked. Banks use your money to loan out to other companies. They make interest off of your money. They put limits on how much you're able to transfer, withdraw, that kind of deal, because they don't actually have your money. And when everybody eventually panics, in a case like, not specifically this, but, you know, something causes distrust and people want to take their money out of the bank immediately, causes bank runs, and eventually governments have to bail them out. Huge banks have collapsed due to this kind of stuff. So Bitcoin solves all this because it's self-custodial. Michael Saylor FUD, MicroStrategy. There was talks about Michael Saylor. Probably he's going to get his whole Bitcoin position liquidated as well. Could be the case, but he says, hey, as long as Bitcoin goes up at least 1.25% a year, we can pay the dividend forever. He's talking about his other stocks and also the loans, right? If Bitcoin stops going up, we have 80 years to figure out what we're going to do about that when it comes to, you know, repaying back the loans, because he takes out debt to buy more Bitcoin is essentially what happens, or something, some magic is what he works in his stocks to come up with more funds to buy more Bitcoin. You know how we always ask, like, how does MicroStrategy get more money? How is he getting all this money? How is he putting millions of dollars every time, every week? Well, that is how, right? So, I mean, they've done a good job. They've acquired almost 650,000 Bitcoins, which is not half bad. And, I mean, yeah, he's saying as long as Bitcoin goes up 1.25% a year, we're fine. And on average, I think the average yearly return on Bitcoin is like 500%. maybe it's been overshadowed by like the early days when Bitcoin was rising thousands of percent a year, when it just recently started and was rising from, I don't know, 1 cent to $10. Sure. But nowadays, I don't know, we're down a couple percent in the year so far, right? I've shown the chart a couple times, but I don't remember exactly where we started the year. Go to a 12-month chart. We are down 6% this year. Pretty crazy, huh? We're supposed to see 3 green candles before we see 1 big red candle of like 60%. So far, we had a 150% candle, a 120% candle. I'm talking these past 2 years. And this year, we're down 6%. If we started from here and at our best point, we were up 35% from 93,000 to 126,000, our all-time high. Still a bit underwhelming. Or maybe not. I don't know. How much have we rose over here? 300%, 94%, 59%. Yeah, no, that would have been fine. If we ended the year at 126,000, that is, or somewhere above that area. Hey, if we still hit my target, which was 135,000, that'd be optimal. It's starting to become less and less likely, in my opinion, as the days move on and the fact that we just keep on going lower doesn't look very good. So, yeah. But the year's not over yet. It's not over till it's over, so we must wait. That being said, yeah, MicroStrategy is kind of safe, but, I mean, their stock, it's not going to look good for a while. And I've talked about their stock. It's been going down and down. And it's kind of lost its volatility against Bitcoin specifically. We talked about how much they've raised. They're diluting more than what they're buying. The MNAV compressed from 2.5x to 1.2x in 8 weeks. What this basically means is that MicroStrategy would move 2.5 times whatever Bitcoin's percentage would move, right? On average, before, in the past, in 8 weeks ago, literally. And now it's about 1.2%, 1.2x, sorry, what Bitcoin moves, which is still fine. You're getting more volatility than Bitcoin. Obviously, it matters where that volatility direction is, but yeah. When it becomes like one to one, the movements, which it could just eventually become that, because that's a majority of what MicroStrategy has now is just Bitcoins, then the whole model will just die completely. And the fact that we talked about this, the MSCI decision on January 15, they will be delisting MicroStrategy from NASDAQ, the NASDAQ 100 and Russell 2000 and 3000, then could force about $11.6 billion in index selling. This is just an effect of MicroStrategy leaving those indices. Luckily, it did not make it to the S&P 500, and I know it was bummed out when MicroStrategy originally did not enter the S&P 500. It was speculation, that everybody was saying, yeah, MicroStrategy's next. It's going to enter the S&P 500. But no, they gave it away to some trash company. I don't know. I think it was the dog food company or something. I'm probably wrong. Something like that, though. But MicroStrategy didn't make it. But like I said, now that the MSCI will be removing them, I don't know if it would have included the S&P 500, but yeah, it is the biggest one. So it would have added a lot more sell pressure if this is indeed going to take effect. I mean, the decision has already been made. MicroStrategy will be gone from these indices January 15. Sailor's Infinite Money glitch just broke, basically. Where did they get the money from for the most recent over $800 million buy? It was likely another convertible note offering or ATM equity raise. Same playbook they've been running, just bigger scale this time. I still don't understand this terminology, but we'll see. Can Bitcoin go to 100K? It's possible. Momentum can override fundamentals short term, but the structural pressure doesn't disappear if we tag 100,000 first. Index flows are mechanical. The exit door gets narrower each day. MNAV compresses regardless of price action. Okay, what is MNAV, please? It's MicroStrategy's market cap to net asset value, or market to Bitcoin net asset value. That's basically what it is. Okay, so that's the multiple that we were talking about here. The 2.5x to 1.2x in 8 weeks. And once the MNAV is at 1.0x, okay, it makes sense now. Then it's useless to hold MicroStrategy at that point. You're just investing in a company that has a lot of Bitcoin and it moves 1-to-1 with Bitcoin's price. You might as well just buy a Bitcoin ETF because a company can go bankrupt. I guess so can an ETF. I mean, you might as well just buy Bitcoin on spot. That's basically what it is. It defeats the purpose, but it's there for speculation. You could do different stuff with it. You could trade options, you know, that kind of deal. That's why they exist. So, third-party custody. Something that, I don't know, Peter Schiff was really talking about, how it's useless to do that in the crypto market. The whole third-party custody. I mean, we do it anyway, right? And that's why it's just useless. Like, you have money on an exchange, that's third-party custody. It's not your coins, not your keys, not your crypto, right? It's better, obviously, if you hold it on spot. But Sailor, he's here to remind us that volatility, this thing that we're seeing right now, it's a gift, not a threat. Yeah, it feels rough. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. But this is the part of the journey that actually gives regular people a real shot. I would agree with that. Like, we would have been begging to see these prices. I was thinking like, yeah, Bitcoin's never going to drop below 100,000 again. I got to accumulate as much as I can around 100,000. And we did bounce about it, giving me a false sense of hope. But then we broke far below that, down to 80,000. Of course, as soon as we use 5x leverage, we decide to go to 80,000. Me usually being the conservative guy using 3x leverage on everything, no. I would have been fine, dude, if it was 3x leverage the whole way. What was my average price? We dropped it to like 101,000, right? 101 divided by 3 is that, minus 101. Yeah, I would have been at 67k where my liquidation price is. Dude, I would have been so fine. But no, I used 5x leverage, and 101 divided by 5 minus 101. That's basically 80,000, and that's where I got liquidated. I got liquidated 82,000. So stupid, but whatever. Sailor says that volatility shakes out the tourists. It leaves room for the people who actually believe in Bitcoin to keep building their stack, which I would agree with. So breathe, zoom out, use the moments everyone hates, because they usually end up being the ones that matter the most. Huge, powerful words. I did touch briefly on Peter Schiff. Remember he's going to be attending the Binance event someplace in the Middle East. I forget where. I think it's United Arab Emirates. I don't know. Michael Saylor will be there, and Changpeng Zhao will be there too. Peter Schiff, the Mr. Gold guy, he is challenging both these people, Michael Saylor and Changpeng Zhao, to a debate about Bitcoin versus gold, or tokenized gold, or even challenged, I think, on Binance blockchain, something. So we're going to see whether or not that does happen over there. My last bit of news is just what's coming up next this week. First, I'm going to look at the economic calendar. Nothing's happening Monday. Tuesday, we're getting producer price index. I always mix that up. For inflation, it'll be good for inflation data. Initial jobless claims for November. Okay. That's coming out Wednesday. And durable goods, I don't know if we really care too much about that. Nothing else Thursday? Where's Thursday? There's nothing on Thursday. Absolutely nothing. Friday, Fed balance sheet. Oh, Thursday is Thanksgiving Day. It's going to be closed. Friday is Black Friday. Make sure you buy a computer or something. And then, yeah, next week is next week. We'll forget about that. So this upcoming week, Tuesday is the most important day. Arguably, we're going to get some stuff on Wednesday, but nothing too crazy. Thursday is going to be a really low volatility day. I'm calling it right now. Other than that, what is this? Volatility Watch, Oklo, and Strategy are set up for a volatile week of trading based on options volume. The most overbought stocks include Exact Sciences, Blue Acquisition. Okay, I don't know any of these companies, dude. Forget that then. Dividends, Johnson & Johnson, T-Mobile US, eBay, Hyatt, they'll be giving dividends. Earnings, Zoom. That's all I really care about. TD Cowan treatment all day on Monday. Canadian National Railway will address the Desjardins Toronto conference. Okay, nobody cares. Yeah, okay, nobody cares about this. Nothing big on Monday. Tuesday, earnings. Earnings for Alibaba, okay, Dell, Best Buy, Workday, HP, Hewlett Packard, right? Is that what it is? What is HPQ? I don't know what the Q is. I might be thinking of something else. Oh, it is HP, Hewlett Packard. What are you doing? Neo, Dick's Sporting Goods, Kohl's, Abercrombie Fitch. Michael Berry also teased on Tuesday a disclosure or release of some sort occurring during the day. Right, November 25th, he said he was going to make a big announcement. So we'll see what happens Tuesday from Michael Berry. He's the guy that shorted Nvidia and Palantir. I didn't know he also did Oracle and Meta, unless I'm misreading this. Basically, the fact that artificial intelligence was rising too hard, and he's like, AI is in a bubble, so I'm going to short Nvidia and Palantir, and maybe these two. And he won. And now he's closing down his firm. Weird. I don't know. Weird guy. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. Best Buy earnings conference. No one cares. Dell Technologies. No one cares. Okay, cool. Wednesday. Earnings. Only Deere and Lee Auto. Starbucks and Costa Coffee. I've never heard of that. Those are... This is not earnings. For those is just... coffee industry something. No one cares. Yeah, nothing really important. Oh, Thursday is also here, I guess. Stock market will be closed for Thanksgiving. That's it. Friday, oil. OPEC Plus will be releasing some numbers. And Friday, US market closes at 1 p.m. So it shouldn't be too volatile on Friday either. And Black Friday deals, of course, for Friday. So it's Thursday, Thanksgiving, Friday, Black Friday. I like that. That's it. That's really it. For the Tom Lee Michael Saylors out there, Tom Lee and BMNR, BitMine, right? Yeah, that is BitMine. They should be announcing how much Ethereum they bought. Right. Tomorrow's Monday. We're going to see what numbers Tom Lee posts and MicroStrategy post. The last couple of press releases went out exactly at 8 a.m. Eastern Time Monday morning. Okay, so we'll see that too. Those are things to look forward to. Yeah, we know it'll be closed. La la la. How do I think it'll performed? Unchanged. We'll see. Spaces calendar for this week. No one cares. Yeah, the stock market will only be open for 3.5 trading days this week. That's a low volatility week. But let's hope we can make it a bit of a recovery rally. It looks like the majority of the sentiment is still toward the upside. But like I said, both bulls and bears have equally good cases on both sides. I'm just going to sit it out. Not buying Bitcoin at these prices. Could regret it. Maybe will not regret it. Looks like we're in a bear market, technically speaking. But fundamentally speaking, man, we should be at all-time highs and ripping right now. So it just doesn't make any sense. Henceforth, I am staying out of it. Could this be manipulation? Sure. By whomst? I do not know. But we're going to discover... I'm just going to stop talking. All right, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. So thanks, guys, so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for subscribing as well. Really close to 500. Almost there. Until tomorrow.